My name is Marissa Chen. I'm 31, and last night, I learned just how hollow love can feel when it comes with strings. You're a failure, my father spat, slamming his whiskey tumbler so hard against the granite it cracked. We handed you every opportunity. And now? What do you even do? Go play chauffeur? Fix websites like some dropout? The silence inside my sister's sleek Palo Alto condo was instant and suffocating. The air reeked of rosemary chicken and judgment. Across the marble island, my cousin Ava stared into her sparkling water, fighting a smirk. Uncle David coughed into his napkin to hide a laugh. My brother James reclined in his chair, smug and silent, like a judge watching a case he'd already closed. And my mother? She folded napkins, over and over, never once looked up. Before I continue, what would you do in that moment? Tell me, I want to know. Let's go on. It's pathetic. My father continued. You walked away from the firm like you had a plan. So where's the payoff? Where's the pride? All I see is wasted potential and bargain bin shoes. He motioned to my charcoal flats like they'd insulted him. You're not our Marissa anymore. You're just a disappointment. Ava laughed out loud. Aunt Lillian leaned in and whispered something that made her wheeze with delight. No one stopped them. No one even flinched. My hands trembled under the counter. My breath caught. I could have let it all out, all the insults I'd swallowed, all the rage I'd buried. But I didn't. I stood, slowly, calmly. I smoothed the hem of my dark green dress and ran my palms down its sides. Okay, I said, quietly. Not in surrender, but with certainty. And I left. Not because I didn't care, but because I finally did. About myself. That night, I didn't cry. I sipped tea alone in my studio in Mountain View, staring out at the glow of the city. Because when pain simmers long enough, it doesn't boil over. It burns clean. By dawn, I was wide awake. And by 8:30 a.m., 5 black electric sedans rolled into the cul-de-sac in front of my parents' glass and stone monument of a house, the one my father bragged about like a trophy. Inside, I imagined the usual dance, pancakes, blueberry, probably, soft jazz, and awkward small talk to paper over the night before. But outside, something louder arrived. Engines whispered to a stop, doors opened, and 5 titans stepped out. Not CEOs, builders, founders, visionaries. People who didn't inherit power, they forged it. Elias Monroe, AI architect, net worth $4.9 billion. Priya Desai, biotech disruptor, $3.2 billion. Jonas Kager, logistics and defense, $2.7 billion. Celine Tran and Malik Rowe, fintech royalty. They climbed the steps without hesitation. One rang the bell. My father opened the door in his robe, coffee in hand, confidence not yet caffeinated. Can I help you? Good morning, boss, Aaliyah said, nodding toward me as I stepped forward, obsidian suit sharp as glass, heels clicking like punctuation. My father blinked. Marissa, what is this? Behind him, Ava peered over his shoulder. Her face went pale. I smiled, not politely, not sweetly, sharply. Didn't anyone tell you? I said. As of last week, I own Elira Holdings. He stiffened. You what? I own the firm, I repeated. The one you said I'd never make it in. I glanced over my shoulder. And these are my partners. Together, we didn't just run the firm. We controlled its gravity, its orbit. And I walked past him, because it wasn't just their house anymore. It was mine. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was afraid. This time, I held the knives, every single one. You're lying. My father choked. His voice cracked like old wood under pressure. I met his gaze, calm and unflinching, then reached into my tote and pulled out a manila folder. These are the acquisition documents, I said, handing it to him, effective as of 7 o'clock this morning. He stared at the papers like they were written in a foreign tongue. James, my brother, the heir apparent, snatched them. He flipped through, faster and faster, until he stopped cold. She's not lying, he muttered, voice low, begrudging. This is real. She owns Elira now. And for the first time in years, they didn't know what to say. And these names on the back? James murmured, flipping through the documents. That's half the valley's private investors, tech, biotech, real estate. He looked up, stunned. She didn't just buy it. She built an empire around it. Aunt Lillian made a sound like she'd swallowed glass. A fork dropped somewhere behind her. But my mother, she finally blinked. Her voice barely a whisper. Yod. I nodded once. While you were all mocking my freelancing and calling me lost, I was quietly building LiarTech, a cybersecurity firm. You might have missed the headline, but it was acquired for $410 million a few months ago. I let that sit. Mostly stock, some liquid, enough to gain leverage, court your competitors, and buy the one company this family worships like a relic. My father's expression darkened, ashen, furious. You think owning something makes you powerful? He snapped, stepping closer. You think that earns you respect? No, I said softly. My silence last night did. He flinched. I could have screamed. I could have begged for them to see me. But I didn't need to. I let you believe I'd failed, I said, because the harshest lessons are the ones people walk into blind. James stood abruptly, fists curled. You planned this, he hissed. You wanted to humiliate us. I stepped forward, measured and calm. No, James, I waited until I didn't need revenge anymore. This was never about you, or Dad, or your little empire of expectations. This was about me, finally claiming what was already mine. And if you felt that shift, if you felt her take her power back, don't stop here. Follow the rest, because this is where the tables turn. I turned to the team behind me. This is about growth, I said. About what happens when the ones you cast out stop asking for a seat and start building the table. Elias glanced at his watch. We've got a North Bridge board meeting in 20. I smiled. No rush. I moved it. My father's brow knit. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone, tapped twice. Your office lease expired at midnight. The holding company is mine now. Which means, effective this morning. I gestured to the marble floors beneath us. This house is the new headquarters. Uncle David sputtered. You can't just. I already did. Jessica sprang to her feet, cheeks flushed. You're just trying to make us feel small. I raised an eyebrow. No, Jessica, you made yourselves small the moment you bet against me. We moved into the living room. My team moved with precision. Priya reviewed contract transitions on her tablet. Jonas was already on a secure call with our legal team. Celine and Mallet coordinated onboarding for the AI division we'd just acquired. And my father, he sat stiff on the couch, watching his legacy dissolve beneath him. This was my empire, he whispered. This was supposed to be James's future. I met his gaze, steady and sharp. You shouldn't have burned the bridge. You thought I'd never be strong enough to build my own. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. I scrolled through a file on my phone. Do you remember Carson Fields? Dad blinked. What? The auditor, back when you were still untouchable. His jaw tightened. You had him fired after he flagged irregularities at Northbridge. Turns out, he kept records. I turned my phone to face them. On screen, a PDF, already opened. And when I acquired Northbridge, I gained access to its full archives, including consulting fund transfers to a real estate shell company in Montana. Jessica leaned forward, pale. What are you saying? I placed the phone on the table. Wire transfers, June 2, 2022. I looked directly at my father. I'm saying the money you funneled out wasn't just hidden, it was criminal. He shot up, panic cracking through his voice. You don't understand corporate finance. Tax evasion, embezzlement, potential money laundering, I said, cool and clear. Depends how the offshore activity checks out. His finger trembled as he pointed at me. You wouldn't do this. You wouldn't destroy your own father. I stepped forward, slow and deliberate. You already destroyed your daughter, I said. When you stood in that kitchen and called me a disgrace. You didn't just break my heart. You severed every thread that tied us. His mouth moved, but no words came. Pride strangled them in his throat. I leaned in, voice quiet, razor sharp. But don't worry, I whispered. I'm not turning you in. I paused, let it twist. Yet, I held up my phone. The documents are with my attorney. The files are sealed. They stay that way, unless something happens to me or the company. Play nice, and you get to walk away with your name intact. The air shifted, like someone cracked a window in a pressure chamber. You knew, James said quietly, eyes fixed on our father. You knew all of it, and you still stood there, acting like this family was built on something real. Dad turned to him, reaching out. James slapped his hand away. Don't. But I wasn't looking at either of them anymore. My gaze moved to my mother, silent, frozen at the edge of the couch. She hadn't said a word this entire time. Why didn't you stop him? I asked. You let him mock me for years. You watched him tear me down just for dreaming differently. She met my eyes at last, her expression unreadable. Because, she said, after a long pause. You were always too sensitive. You cried when your bike got scratched. You sulked when we didn't frame your art. I thought, if I hardened you, you'd survive. My voice cracked. You didn't raise me to survive. You raised me to stay silent. Behind me, the team stood quietly. Then Aaliyah spoke. We need a decision, boss. Do we rebuild North Bridge clean, or pretend there's anything left to save? I looked around the room, at the people who measured my worth by how small I could make myself. And I smiled. We rebuild, I said. From zero, without a single brick laid by liars. My mother rose, stunned. You'll cut us off. You cut me off a long time ago. She reached for me. Marissa, wait, we can still. I turned to my team. We're done here. And we walked out. No yelling, no drama. Just closure. The front door clicked shut behind us. That house? I looked back once. It wasn't home anymore. It was history. And for the first time in years, I didn't carry it. The morning sun broke through the clouds as we reached the cars. I stepped into the future I'd built with my own hands. Their silence stayed behind. The weight of my father's crumbling authority. James' shattered illusion of inheritance. My mother's guilt, frozen like stone. Not one of them followed. They stayed in the world they built, of pride, control, and fear. And I left it without flinching. I slid into the back of the lead sedan, Elias beside me, already scanning strategy briefs. Jonas turned from the front seat. Say the word, he said. And we clean house, every legacy exec gone. I shook my head. Not all, keep a few. But I want loyalty audits on every VP, full reports, past behavior. How they treated junior staff. If they abused power, they're out. Priya tapped notes into her phone. So, you're sending a message? No, I said, watching the Silicon Valley skyline rush past. I'm rewriting the culture. We don't humiliate people for struggling. We don't mock risk-takers. And we don't let power reward cruelty. The car merged onto the freeway, engine humming beneath us like a war drum. In the tinted window, my reflection stared back. But it wasn't the woman from last night. My eyes were still. My posture, anchored. That afternoon, we held the press conference at the Mercer Grand Hotel, downtown San Jose. The media had already caught wind. Rumors, hostile takeover, silent buyouts, boardroom blood. But they weren't ready. Not for a 31-year-old in heels that didn't falter. And a voice that didn't shake. I stepped to the mic. My name is Marissa Chen, I said. As of this morning, I'm the majority shareholder and CEO of Elira Holdings, formerly Northbridge Ventures. Cameras flashed. Gasps followed. For years, this company thrived on exclusion and legacy power. That ends today. We are not a legacy, we are a vision. A reporter shouted. Miss Chen, how did this happen overnight? I smiled. It didn't. It took years of being underestimated. Another voice. What about your family? Will they stay involved? I didn't blink. They're welcome to rebuild their reputations. But Elira is no longer a family business. Later, I stood on the hotel balcony, the city pulsing beneath us. Elias handed me a glass of champagne. They'll talk about that speech for weeks. I don't want speeches, I murmured. I want impact. You're already making it. Dinner broke something in me. I said quietly. But not in the way they hoped. You stood up. He nodded. And didn't look back. That night, in my penthouse, I opened my laptop. Hundreds of emails. Congratulations, envy, old teachers, distant relatives. One stopped me cold. Subject, I owe you an apology. From, Dad. I didn't open it. I closed the laptop and stared out at the city. They'd watched me fall for years. Now, they'd have to watch me rise. The next morning, I stepped into the new Elira HQ, top floor of Marlowe Tower. No rot, no gatekeepers. Just builders, believers. Cord signed off, Elias said, meeting me at the elevator. You're CEO, no challenge. Good, I said. Let's make it count. That night, I drove through my old neighborhood. Stopped at a red light outside the house I used to call home. There they were, my parents. Sitting on the porch, no pride, no power. Just watching. Watching what they lost. Watching what I became. And me? I turned the corner. And kept driving. If you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or told to stay in your place, this story is yours. I'm Marissa Chen. And I've built something no one believed I could. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove myself right. Drop a comment. Tell me, what moment made you finally choose yourself? I read them all. And if my journey speaks to you, subscribe, stay with me. Because here's the truth. You don't need permission to become powerful. You just need clarity, and the courage to keep walking, even when no one claps. I did. You can too.